Hello and welcome to the ZOIA Librarian version 2.1 update. This update comes pretty quickly after the 2.0 update, which I am super appreciative of the support for, both from Empress and the community. You've just made it so apparent how thankful you are for this to exist. So I'm glad to be able to provide it. And thank you for your feedback, your donations, the shout outs from Empress, all the comments on the YouTube video, all the bug reports and feature requests on the Discord and GitHub. Just super, super thankful. So yeah, I'm still proud to continue developing this, and it's still a fun exercise. So I'm happy to keep working on it. This update is mainly focused on the editor functionality to make it smoother and easier to use. But first, we're going to talk about some stuff outside of the editor that I made for mostly QLL changes, quality of life stuff. First one is when you have a patch on patch storage, the user saves it with a bunch of tags. It would take up a bunch of visual space in the patch storage list and just sort of make it look not as nice as it could be. So what I did is I condensed it down. If they have a ton of tags, it will restrict it to like 3 lines of tags, and then if you hover over it, it'll still have all of them present, and they're still all searchable and sortable with those tags in there. So that's just more of a visual thing. On the local storage tab, there's a change to the version histories. There's a new button called Split Version. What this does is it allows you to extract a patch from the version history and treat it as its own individual patch. This is just mostly for organization. I find myself liking the consistency of just having single patches in my local history. So I tend to, like, if it's Christopher likes to upload a bunch of versions inside of his patches. I usually take the latest one and save that individually. So that this is a way to do that. You can also click all of them to make them unique. It's just about organization, making it smoother. So I'm just going to pick the third one. It'll have you confirm decision, and then you'll see it pop up right here. If you double click on the title, you can actually change the name, which again is just helpful for consistency and organization. So that's in there. You can change any names that way. All right. On the SD card tab, what I've done, I had a request, and I've been thinking about modifying this a little bit, the merging of patches. So what happens is, if you're not familiar, when you import either a single patch or all patches, so with this button or this button, or these two options, what happens is it will scan all of your patches that you have locally. It'll scan all the patches on patch storage and will attempt to merge the metadata. So let's say, for instance, you have a versioned patch on your ZOIA that you didn't put in the librarian for whatever reason, or you deleted it for whatever reason. If you import that patch and you want it to have the metadata in all the patch notes, this is a way to do that. So what I've done is allowed a method for the user to select that behavior, because there are some false positives. What happens is it scans the name of the patch and attempts to link it to the name of the patch on patch storage. But because there's so many different type of patch names, from the file name to the saved patch name to the patch name in the binary, it makes it a little confusing. So in this case, what I did is allowed the user to choose. So you can either choose not to link it, which will not preserve any metadata. It'll just be uploaded as its own local patch, or it will attempt to fuzzy match against patches in patch storage. So in this case, I know that this links up to Loom, right? This interwoven loop delay. So I can select that as my desired import. Right. So once it's done importing, we see our patch. Now it has all the metadata. It has a nice picture at the top. It has all the details, right? So it makes it more consistent with what you're expecting to see. You don't have to copy that information yourself. So that works for, again, both the single imports as well as the import all functionality. And as a reminder, when you import as a version history, it ignores everything else and it just uploads into its own version. So this is the way of getting your folders from the ZOIA onto your unit as quickly as possible. That's what the version history import is for. The other two are for merging and handling single patches in addition to the patch storage integration. Cool. All right. That covers the stuff outside of the editor. There's a number of boring changes on the back end to make the code optimize a little better and the deployments to change. But user facing, those are the three main things, and then we have the editor modifications. So we'll get into those now. We'll open up a new patch. The first thing you'll notice, it opens as a full screen or your full window of whatever you're viewing, just to make it the highlighted element. First thing we have is a way to search. So if we search, as we search, it will open up, it'll uncollapse the category tabs or drop downs. And then when you delete it, it'll go back to normal. Additionally, when you hover over either the name here, the name in the middle, or the name on the right, it will show you the module description, just so you're familiar with that. And you can now just double click and it'll add to the patch. I want to add a reverse delay to show a couple of things off. So in this update, we have the ability to save a couple of user-defined things for your modules. First is your default overrides. So you can set a default set of colors, channels, controls, whatever the options are. Save that as your default. It will, the next time that you load up a reverse delay, it will have the same exact settings. You can also reset to the defaults that the ZOIA is using if you would like, just to make things a little easier. Additionally, in the sliders, you'll notice that there's a new display for whatever unit the ZOIA is using for that parameter. So delay time milliseconds, feedback is in decibels, mix is percentage, that sort of thing. There are some that aren't going to be displayed, such as note information for the keyboard, and the ones that are more like text driven rather than like a unit. Those are a little trickier, so I haven't figured that out yet, and I will add that in the next update. But for now, it just gives you a sort of an indication of what you're actually tweaking from a 0 to 1 scale. The way that this works is there's 3 points that I confirm the values of. So like 50% delay time is going to be 656.3 milliseconds on the ZOIA. I also figured out 25% and 75%, as well as the upper and lower bounds. The values in between are going to be interpolated. So 87.87 delay time is not going to be exactly just over a second, right? It's going to be around there, but it's not going to be exact because the interpolation is not smooth. It's not exact. I will improve that over time. But it gives you an indication of what your real-time parameter control is roughly. That applies to all the parameter stuff. Additionally, there's the start CCs that you can define. So this ties into MIDI learn that ZOIA has. If you click on the checkbox, it will allow you to define a start CC. And the way that this works is because you have a single MIDI channel of 128 values to pick. If you use it in your patch, that is now out as an option. So that just, right, so I can't click. Oh, I can fix that. But I won't be able to do 7 here, right? It will force me to pick something else because 7's already taken. Right. All right, so getting back to some of the newer things, one of the most exciting features that I'm happy to announce is the idea of a super module. This is basically a way to roll your own recipes and your own set of modules that you always are using. Things that you find yourself reaching for in every single patch, whether it's like a flexi switch to do tap and hold, whether it's an audio routing that you love, whether it's the random CV used for the Abyss water patch, just to name a specific patch. You can say that as a super module, right? This is a metadata thing that gets saved on your system that you can then apply to your patches and save them, and then they will show up as you define them on your ZOIA. All right, so this is again an organizational thing and a thing that makes your life easier. So you see I have a couple saved here. When you hover, it will show you the list of modules in the super module. It will show you a description that you can modify, or you can set when you're saving a super module. And we'll go for that in a minute. But if I double click, we see here that 3 new modules got added. And if I check the expanded patch, you see that the routing is already there, right? So the connections were saved in the super module, which is huge, right? It allows you to wire these things up ahead of time and use them in every patch. Also, all of your options, your parameters, your colors, everything here on the right-hand side is saved into that super module when you define it, right? So again, all these things can be customized. You could set your defaults to be working with super modules, that sort of thing. All right, so how do you actually save this? So let's say I want to, I'll just roll with what I have, but I want to add a reverse delay because that sounds fun. I could take the connections of the audio output, of the distortion and go into the reverse delay, or I can just wire it up like that. Done. Right, so now we have a connection from the overdrive going into the reverse delay input, and we're all set to save this. So now I can highlight these modules, save a super module, Dyna Plus, reverse. Right. And now it gets added to the list. We see it has our 4 modules, it has our description that we saved, and when we load it back up, we see we now have 2 copies of it. Right, and all of the settings, all of the connections, everything is saved to the super module. And if I didn't highlight this fact, you can do this at any point. You can wire up connections at any point that you're viewing the expanded patch. You can do that, right? So you simply click and drag, and if you want to delete something, you just click in the middle and then swipe it away. Oh, yeah, like that. Make sure you're actually clicking on the path, and it works that way. The one thing that I haven't done with this is added the ability to change your strength within this window. So what I did is you can adjust the connection strength with this, right? So you can use a slider, you can use a button, right? And it'll change the strength for you there. Additionally, there's the ability to move your modules around pages and rename pages. Because before, what would happen is when you organize your patches, you would automatically figure out, based on your options you picked, how many blocks does this module take up. If it takes up too many, make a new page. If it don't allow any overlaps, that sort of thing. So there's a new button called Show Page Layout. When you click it, you'll be greeted with your pages in a holistic view. So they're very simplistic color schemes, but it matches up to what you would see on your ZOIA. You can rename pages. You can add new pages, and you can click and drag. All right, so this allows you to fully customize how your patch is going to look when you export it. Right, so all of the changes, all of the options, all of the routing, all of the page stuff, none of that is saved until you export the patch, either as a new version or as an override to an existing version. So just remember to save things and export in order for things to test, to stick. So now that we have our patch done, I'm going to save it. When we click on it, we see our pages have the new names, have the layout that we defined, and they also have all the connections that we made. Right. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a really good use case of this application. It allows you to dive in, make modifications, save your defaults, save your submodules, route things, move things around, all without needing to touch your hardware. Of course, I still recommend you have your hardware near you so you can confirm that the things that you're doing aren't going to cause audio destruction to your ears or your peers. But you really don't need it until you're going to test the audio on the hardware. So yeah, that's the 2.1 update. Please let me know if you have any questions, suggestions, comments. Put it on the YouTube video, put it in GitHub, put it in the Discord. Yeah, thank you again, and I really hope you find good usage out of this application, and I continue to plan to support it well into the future as I think of new ideas and new ways to make it even easier to use. All right, thank you so much. Bye.